Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon. In this Louvre case, it's like suspense and then no suspense, right? 7 perpetrators, as they would say in France, have been arrested for this case. So 7 arrested. The first 2 were interrogated for, it seems like, 4 or 5 days, and they started coming across with some information, right? So they started partially cooperating. Then they arrest 5 more, of which one of those 5, apparently his DNA was on the scene there. So they have 3 out of the 4 players in the robbery, right? So now, where are they with this case? What is going on? Well, obviously, they want the jewels back. Where are the jewels? Where are the crown jewels? And that is where the efforts of the prosecutor, and that is where the efforts of the police, and that is where the efforts of everyone involved here. They want you to return the jewels. But if you know anything about organized crime, these very 4 robbers could be working for a big boss man, right? Similar to the mafia in the US. Who is the boss that they are answering to? And when criminal enterprises have the booty from a robbery, they're not so inclined to return it, are they? And so, as much as some of these perpetrators who have been arrested are cooperating and telling this story, could it be a possibility that they don't know where these jewels are right now? And they would tell if they could, but they're answering to a big boss, a capo, tutiti capo. I don't know what they say in France for the boss of all bosses. But this appears to be organized crime. So no one's really saying that, but did these all of a sudden 4 guys work it, right? And that's 3 too many. We say if you want to do a crime and you get away with it, you got to do it yourself because everyone talks. So 4 do the initial robbery. Out of those, they have 3 of them under arrest. And then now there is 3 more arrested. So total, there were 2 arrested initially, and now an additional 5. Well, there's 7 arrested. Does that say anything to you, audience? Does that say anything about this? Yes, this is organized. There were a lot of people involved. So can the players involved in the actual robbery, do they even know at this point where are the crown jewels located? Worth a reported 88 million euros or 102 million US dollars. So that's the big thing that the police and the government of France, they want the crown jewels back, right? Because it's an embarrassment. This whole Louvre robbery was an embarrassment. 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday, 4 guys with a truck come up and they climb a ladder to the 2nd story, very loud, break a window, go in there, and right under the nose of security, they do this robbery. And within 7 to 8 minutes, the entire event is over with. If you were the Louvre director of security, well, if you are, you should have already lost your job. However, as I've said on previous shows, when money is tight, the first thing to be cut in all corporations, all companies, is security. Let's cut security. We could say, but then something like this happens and they're looking for someone's head on a platter, or in France, to put it in the guillotine, right? Someone's got to answer for this because the crown jewels are gone, right? So someone is going to answer this. But there's so many questions. This was undoubtedly organized crime. So Do the French people have the equivalent of a mafia? Do they have equivalent of other organized crime, whether it be Italian, Albanian, whatever? Do they have these organized crime? I would almost guarantee that they do, but no one seems to be talking about that. They're just talking about, oh, I hope they don't dismantle the jewels. What do you think they're going to do? These are criminals. They committed this crime to make money, not because they care about the crown jewels. They embarrassed the entire country. They embarrassed the police. They embarrassed the prosecutor. They embarrassed the government of France that they could go in during the daytime and do this horrific robbery. Anyway, folks, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your loved ones. Hold on to your thoughts, your opinions. Hold on to that little barking service dog. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone.
There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
So all we hear now is that the French police have made 5 more arrests.
Suspects linked to the theft of over $100 million worth of treasures from the Louvre Museum's Apollo Gallery. Paris prosecutor Laure Becchio said she hoped that would lead to recovering the missing jewels. Becchio told RTL Radio that one suspect was identified through DNA traces left at the crime scene. The arrests took place during coordinated raids across different parts of Paris on Wednesday evening. 2 other men were detained over the weekend. They had, quote, partially admitted their involvement in the robbery. One of these men was attempting to fly out of France when detained. Becchio said a specialized police unit was scouring the black market to locate the stolen artifacts. She said the jewels could be used to launder money or as a bargaining chip in organized crime circles. The heist reveals security lapses at the Louvre, the world's most visited museum, and was seen by many as a national embarrassment.
It sure was. It sure was a national embarrassment, right? And, now when they talk about getting these jewels back, we must get the jewels returned. But this is organized crime. So that might not happen, right? And guess what? The police knew the 2 guys that were the first 2 arrested, who we still don't know their names, that's probably a good thing for the French police and the French prosecuteur to keep that a secret. So they knew them. So what does that tell you? That means they're from an organized crime area. So how do we get information on this? I'll tell you how we would do it in the NYPD. We would go to these neighborhoods where these perpetrators are from, and we'd start doing operations like buy and bust, drug busts. There's drugs all over. I'm sure there's drugs in Paris or in the suburbs of Paris. We start hitting search warrants. We start hitting arrest warrants on wanted individuals from those locations. We do what's called on the NYPD as shaking the tree. Shake the tree, and some coconuts are going to fall out. And hopefully the coconuts will be someone that knows where these crown jewels are. That is how police work is done everywhere on this earth. And all of these journalists and all of these people reporting on this, they're acting like this is the first time anything like this has ever happened. No, the police have hundreds of years of investigative resources, of investigative talent, of investigative know-how. They are working 24/7. And the Paris police made a rather quick arrest in this, didn't they? And that gives us hope, doesn't it? But what if these jewels never get returned? Will we be able to recover from this? Will France be able to recover from this? I think so. It's just property, but it's an embarrassment to the country. But it's not human life, right? People get killed everywhere in this world, every city in this world, every single day. And it seems that more consideration is given to property crime here, at least in this instance, because it's such a large value. €88 million, $100 million. So the investigation is ongoing. And the big question is, where? Oh my God, where are the jewels? There it is right on the thumbnail. Where are the jewels? France will survive whether they recover these jewels or not. It would be nice to get these jewels back, both for the museum and both for the French people. This is from CNN.
Airing heist at the Louvre that stunned the world earlier this month. Authorities say one of the suspects is believed to be part of the 4-person gang that carried out the brazen daylight theft in the museum's Apollo Gallery. 2 other suspects, of course, had been taken into custody over the weekend. Despite the arrest, the stolen jewels, worth over $100 million, have yet to be recovered. CNN's Melissa Bell is following all the developments for us from Paris. So, Melissa, what more do we know about these 5 arrests and the suspects?
Well, as you say, we do understand that one of these latest 5 arrested is one of those who was here on that day. Of course, those 2 that had been arrested over the weekend, also part of that 4-man team, have now been placed under formal investigation. This was yesterday evening when we heard from the prosecutor a bit more about the investigation, a bit more about them. These 2 had been known to police. It was DNA samples that had matched them to the scene of the crime. This latest arrest of one of those 4 also tied to the scene of the crime, we understand, by DNA. As to the other 4 arrests that have been made since yesterday, we understand that these are people who are not there necessarily that Sunday morning, but may have elements that can help this investigation move forward. But certainly a sense here in Paris that 11 days, Erica, after this manhunt began, there are big developments, and they are really zooming in now on those who may have been responsible for this, to try and figure out how big the team was, how it had been planned, who was involved. For now, though, as you say, no sign of the jewels, and this was confirmed by the prosecutor yesterday evening. And of course, that is really what French authorities are hoping to get their hands on, hopefully before they've been dismantled and sold and are still intact. But of course, with every day that passes, the hopes of that happening appear to diminish. So we wait to hear more. For now, they're not giving that much away, simply because this is an ongoing investigation and they don't know, Erica, whether there are other people that they need to speak to. But it will have taken them 11 days to get their hands on 7 suspects. Progress being made, but a lot of questions that still remain. And for the time being, the rest, you can see the Louvre Museum is open behind me. It's a sunny day here in Paris. The rest of the crown jewels, we understand, have been moved out of the Louvre for safekeeping and placed at the Banque de France, France's central bank, until better security arrangements can be made here at the Louvre.
It is really...
You know, I just have one suggestion for security for the Louvre. If you have billions of dollars worth of artwork in a facility, might it behoove you, and this is directed to the director of security and the director of the Louvre Museum, to have several armed guards with guns, Guns, guns. And I know you always criticize the U.S. has too many guns, but maybe you should have had some guns to protect the crown jewels in the Louvre. Because guess what? These robbers wouldn't have even tried this if they knew that the security guards were armed. Trust me. They did not want to get in the shootout, and they didn't have to worry about it. And obviously, these criminals, the 7 criminals, of which 4 they believe were on the scene, they did what's called a recon. And I've said this a million times. They've gone to that museum lots of times, blend in, just like a regular citizen of Paris or a U.S. citizen going to look at the Louvre. And they could do it for the purpose of reconning it. Even they could clandestinely take video, have it around their neck with their camera just running. You know, I don't know if they allow you to take pictures inside the Louvre, but that could be part of their recon. And part of the investigation here should also be that the French popo, the police, they do a video canvas going back weeks before the Louvre robbery to see if these perpetrators are on the video doing this recon. That's what we call in the U.S. as evidence. Things that make other things apparent. That is evidence. And I believe if they do go back and look at some of the video, they will find these perpetrators on the video prior to this robbery. That is my prediction. The other thing, and I've mentioned this a million times, ad nauseum, as we say, the cell phones of the perpetrators. Are there calls going in and out to the 7 individuals on their phones? Have they done, I'm sure they have already, done the cross-checking of cell phone calls within the phones of the perpetrators? Have they done the text message checks? Have they done the cell site checks to see where all these perpetrators were on the day of the robbery? So all of these are investigative resources, and through these cell phones, and I've always said a million times, a cell phone in criminal investigation is a treasure trove of information. Could Mr. Big be on the cell phone? You would think maybe some big mafia type guys or whatever France calls their organized crime be smart enough not to use their cell phone to call the robber, or the robber called Mr. Big's cell phone. But peripherally, there could be other, organized crime figures. And the bargaining chip that these 7 perpetrators have is the return of these jewels. Without that, they really don't have any bargaining chips. And how strong is the case of France, Paris, against these perpetrators? And now a word from our sponsor. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? You must be 21 years or older and present in select states for Kansas and affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE New York or text HOPE New York in New York. For days, the investigation felt like a mad dash against the clock, with a team of over 100 of France's top investigators on the case. Then they got their first break. On Sunday, October 26th, police made their first move and arrested 2 men. One of them was caught at Charles de Gaulle Airport, reportedly holding a one-way ticket to Algeria. Just as he was about to skip the country, his partner was picked up near his home in the Paris suburb of Saint-Saint-Denis. I hope I said that correctly. I probably didn't. These weren't exactly criminal masterminds. The 2 men, 34 and 39, were already on the police radar for other crimes, including burglary. That was a huge step, but it was just the start. On Wednesday, October 29th, those 2 men were officially charged with organized theft and criminal conspiracy. And according to Paris prosecutor Laurie Bacall, both have partially admitted to being involved in the heist. I don't get that partially admitted stuff. Is it like being 50% pregnant? Did they admit it or did they not? What is partial? I'm not familiar with that term. So the partial admittance, right as the news was breaking, authorities launched another round of coordinated raids late Wednesday into Thursday morning. These raids focused on Paris and again in Saint-Denis, led to 5 more arrests. That brings the total number of people in custody to 7. And these new arrests are a very big deal. The prosecutor's office said that among the new detainees is a prime suspect they believe was one of the 4 people who actually carried out the robbery. Authorities confirmed that with these arrests, they think 3 of the 4 men seen on surveillance footage are now in custody. The other 4 people arrested are thought to have key info about the whole operation and how it was planned and pulled off. The net has closed in. So the net is closed in, but despite the success, the prosecutor had the news everyone was dreading. Searchers during the arrest did not turn up the stolen jewels. They're still missing. So that is tragic that they don't have the jewels back. However, they got 7 perpetrators, right? My prediction, not that you want to necessarily hear my prediction, is that they will partially recover the jewelry. Some of them may have been busted up already, but I believe that they're in the hands of this criminal enterprise, organized crime, if you will. And perhaps the 7 that are in custody, will the big bosses care about them? I doubt it. I doubt it. If they can make money, these folks that are under arrest, we don't know their names yet, they're expendable. These are criminals. That's how they make money. They make money doing crimes. So should we be surprised perhaps that the criminals that are in custody don't know where the jewels are? No, I don't think that's strange at all. But everyone wants the jewels returned. Return the jewels. Make us whole. Make the Louvre Museum the most famous museum in the world. Make it whole again by returning these jewels. For the people of France, to the people of Paris, return the jewels. But are we being naive? Do you think the criminals give a damn about French history? Do you think the criminals give a damn about returning these jewels? Not the people on the outside. And you get all these talking head experts. Oh, they cannot sell the jewels because they are so notorious. They will surely be caught. I don't know what accent that is I'm doing. Maybe it's called an obnoxious accent. Anyway, so they can't, as I said, the people holding these jewels now, no doubt, are the higher level criminals. They want to get paid. They want to get paid. Would they even consider to ransom off these jewels? No one's really brought that up, have they? Could they potentially ransom off the crown jewels? And are the 7 in custody leading the French police to Mr. Big or the bigs or the bosses of this organized crime group that is now holding the crown jewels? This all remains to be seen. So, folks, that's my update today. 7 under arrest. The crown jewels are still at large. So as we get new information, the police off the cuff, real crime stories, will bring you that information and we'll let you know what's happening with the jewels. But until then, have a great day, everyone. God bless. See you the next time.
One episode just ain't enough.